Hello, everybody. It's Matthew Street. Welcome to my channel. As always, I truly appreciate you being here. And folks, today's t-shirt is brought to you by Steve at All the World's a Stage. Yes, Steve, a great channel, a great guy, and he made up this shirt for the big VC meetup at MGK Boston's home in Massachusetts on July 20th, 2024. And we were all given these cool t-shirts. So thank you to Steve. Now, folks, on to the video. The Beatles, my parents, and young Matthew Street. Many years ago, you know the story if you've watched my channel. My parents were in their early 30s, but yet there was something about the Beatles in 1964 that caught their attention. They got caught up in the fact that all these young kids were getting into the mania and the excitement of the Beatles. And so what did they do? Well, you know the story, as I said, if you've watched my channel. They bought me the Hard Day's Night soundtrack and Meet the Beatles, and I've never looked back. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy on my toy spring-loaded Pinto pony horse when I was that young 3- and 4-year-old boy. And they just enhanced and helped my love of music grow, and especially the Beatles. Well, it continued throughout the 60s. As you know, my dad buying me albums, leaving them on my nightstand when he came home from work, and I've told you all those great stories. But one thing is, they also took me to some really fun movies. I remember going to see a lot of the old Disney movies. Back in the day, they would take me to the theater, back when Disney was good. Okay, let's not go there. Disney movies back in the day, movies like Mary Poppins when they first came out. My parents would take me to things like that, and I loved it. And one of the movies they were I had the foresight to think it would be a fun, cute movie to take me to was the Beatles' Help. In 1965, they took me to the theater. I remember it vividly to this day. I remember the imagery of the movie, some of the things that caught my eye, and I've never looked back. I just love this movie. It could be my favorite, even above A Hard Day's Night, only for the fact that my parents took me to it. They're both no longer with us, so it brings back a fond memory of that young 4-and-a-half-year-old boy being taken to see Help in the theater with my mom and dad. Although Hard Day's Night is great, but Help has a special place in my heart. And here's a soundtrack. This happens to be a promo copy I have. Look at that. I have a rare promo copy of Help, the soundtrack. Now, there's merits to both of the Help albums, in my opinion. Here's also my import of the Help Parlophone album. There are merits to both of these albums, folks. Let's be honest, okay? This is a proper Beatles album, okay? You have both side 1 and side 2 are Beatles tracks. Side 1 of the songs from Help. Side 2 are additional tracks. So this is like a pure Beatles album, okay? Great. Love it. We'll never put this down. However, I still think this has merit. All right, this is a soundtrack album. This has instrumental stuff on it, interspersed with the Beatles songs. This is a movie soundtrack, as it says right on it. Movie, motion picture soundtrack, and it's fabulous. So I think if you're a fan of the Beatles, and especially the movie Help and the album Help, you really need both of these. You really do. All right, this is one of those albums where you can't, you know how people argue between the U.S. versions of Beatle albums and the UK versions, the way the Beatles wanted it. And there's merit to those arguments back and forth. I get it. I love both myself. But the one album I think you really we can all agree you really need both to be complete is Help. You've got to have the British version because it's a proper Beatles album the way the Beatles wanted it. But I really think you need the US Help motion picture soundtrack album as well. Okay? So I'll say that. I also have my original Apple version of Help still. Still have that. Love it. Okay, that's the one my dad got me when I was a kid. They were coming out on Apple back in the day. And like I said, I got my Parlophone 1. I got all that here. I also have an original Rainbow Swirl one I added to the collection. That's how much I love this soundtrack. I've got the Rainbow Swirl. There it is there. Really great condition on my Rainbow Swirl. When I was in the service overseas for 2 years, assigned to the UK, I got to go visit countries in Europe like France and Germany, Holland, Sweden, stuff like that. And when I was in Germany, I picked this up, the German version of Help, exactly like the UK version. That is very cool. All right. I also have a novelty version of Help, which I'm not going to show too long here, but I do have a novelty fan club only edition of Help. All right, let's leave it at that, folks. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, so I'm a Help guy. I like Help, UK version, US version, motion picture soundtrack. But folks, I never thought I'd be buying any more Help albums, okay? But recently, I went on a little trip, as I told you. If you watch my videos, I went and spent a week at a lake house with Mrs. Street. We went to some antique shops, some record stores, some fun stuff, dinner. Had a great time out on the lake, all that good fun stuff. Out of the blue, I'm in this antique collectible shop, flipping through records. You hardly ever find anything. Once in a while, you'll get a nugget or two. Well, I found a nugget. I wasn't going to pick it up, but I said, what is this? Folks, I'm flipping through the rack, and this is what I find. The Beatles Help Socorro. Musica original del film. And on the back, Help Socorro. Same images as the UK Help album. Same songs pretty much as what's on the UK Help album. Only you can see they're written in Uruguayan. Because this says made in Uruguay. Uruguay, I don't know how you pronounce it. Uruguay. I found a Uruguayan version of Help in an antique collectible shop. Now, the cover is made of like a flimsy kind of hard paper. It's not like real cheap paper, but it's not like, our cardboard versions of stuff. It's a little flimsier, all right? This one is layered in plastic to protect it. And as you open it up, you can see it's just, there's not much to it as far as bulk, And it's on Odeon. Again, they have the songs listed in both English and Uruguayan, or whatever that language is. I don't know. I apologize. Really great shape. I mean, I normally don't buy albums like this anymore, but when I saw this and it looked so unique, folks, I said, I got to grab it, Where are you going to just find something like this? I'm not one to go online and search for something like this, but when I'm flipping through the records and this popped up, I was like, Matt, you got to grab it. Los Beatles here. Los Beatles. Socorro. So, folks, I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing this. I did. I just thought, this is something unique. And I didn't pay a lot of money for it. I got to be honest. I really don't like to say prices of what I paid and all that. But I didn't pay a ton of money for this. And it's in great shape. And it goes nice in my Help collection. So there you go, folks. Help. An album I really think you need to have at least both copies. You need to have the UK version of Help because it's the way the Beatles wanted it. It's a complete full Beatles albums, all Beatles songs, but I really believe this one is just as significant, just as important. It's the original motion picture soundtrack, and they make great bookends together. They fit well together. They're great to have in the collection, and if you can get a couple extra little things here and there, like a German version or a version from Uruguay or whatever, or the Apple version, why not, right? We're Beatle collectors. We love this stuff, and it's enjoyable to us. That's it, folks. I just wanted to show you my brand new addition to the Beatles family here. Socorro! Los Beatles. Love you all. Bye-bye.